to July 18th, 1856. So imagine like old-timey, not the Dixie song. That's too old-timey, but imagine like old-timey, and the U.S. government calls in this dude named John Evans, and they're like, John Evans, we're with the Department of the Interior. We have a mission for you. We want you to like walk around Oregon and report back to us. Now he was not just some dude. Well, he was, but he was also a doctor, and he was a geological dude. But he was made of silica. He was a rock man. So anyways, John Evans is like, I will do my duty to your country. He's walking around southwestern Oregon. He's just walking along trails, making maps and stuff like this. And eventually, he's done, right? That's how tasks normally go. You get assigned a task, and eventually you finish it. He starts off in Port Orford in Oregon, and then he ends up in the Willamette River area. He's like, all done. Now, 1859 rolls around. He's sitting at home, and he goes, you know what? I got all these like cool things that I found on my journeys through southwestern Oregon. I should find out what these are. I mean, yes, I am made of rock, and I should recognize my rock beans. I should recognize my fellow rockmen, but I don't recognize some of this stuff. So I'm going to send it off to the Boston Society of Natural History. I got some homies there. They can take a look at this stuff and tell me what this stuff is. Because really, he was just making maps and stuff for the government. He wasn't making maps, but he was basically just going on a survey for the government. But he was putting a little stuff in his pocket too, man. Daddy needed a new pair of drums because he kept going to the point that his drum got worn out. Sends it off to the Boston dudes. The Bostonians are looking at it and they're like, this is weird. And also, I can't do a Boston accent, so I'm not even going to try. This is wicked smart. Whoever got this mineral. They then contact John and say, hey, you sent us this stuff. Where'd you get it from? And he's like, oh, well, on my journeys up in southwestern Oregon, I came across what had to have been a 10-ton boulder just sitting on top of this mountain, right? I walked up to it and I go, oh, this is kind of shiny. Papa needs a new pair of drumsticks. He cuts off a bit of it, puts it in his little pouch, and then I mailed it to you. And the people in Boston are like, oh, that's wicked smart that you did that to us. How about we tell you, how about I stop doing this bad accent? The Bostonian people say, listen, what this is from a super, super rare meteorite. And John Evans is like, how rare? And the Bostonians go, $300 million rare. And then John Evans' eyes bouncing out, dollar signs on him, his tongue. And the Bostonians are like, yeah, we've been doing that all day long. Where's the rest of this meteorite? This mineral is worth hundreds of millions of dollars in old-timey money. So it's going to be worth even more if anyone ever... He goes, I'll show you where it's at, because obviously I can't move a 10-ton boulder myself. And he assembles a team, and then he dies of pneumonia before... Because he wasn't going to tell anyone where it was at, obviously, because he would end up going there, and there'd be some, like, bad guy with a big mustache flying away on a helicopter. They didn't have those. Flying away in a heliotrope, carrying this boulder, going like, ha ha ha, John Evans, you will be poor forever. Flying away. So he didn't tell anyone where it was at. He was going to lead an expedition there. He dies of pneumonia. Now, there's two ways to look at this story. One is that since 1859, people have been looking for this meteorite. He gave a brief, like in his papers, they know where he went. So they feel like they can kind of narrow it down. But treasure hunters have been looking for this. Professional geologists, map people, whatever they're called, have been looking for it. Cartographers? I only know that because I play Minecraft. And then even the Smithsonian can't find it. Now, what has happened is now people go, it's a hoax. It was a hoax. There is no meteorite up there. They say it was a hoax because the dude in 1859 was poor, which I don't know, he might have been. He might have simply been poor in spirit, but had wealth and friends around him. Who knows? But they say he was poor. They also said that it matches a meteorite. It was meteorite rock, but it matches a meteorite that crashed in Chile in 1822. And he was in Panama City, which is not really close to Chile, but apparently this is the idea. He bought the minerals at some market in Panama City. And then he comes back up to America. The U.S. government sends him on this tour. He does it, but realizes he doesn't have any money. He spent all his money on drum equipment. And then he goes, wait a second, I'm going to run this scam. I'm going to send these little shavings to Boston University. They're gonna tell me I'm wicked smart. They're gonna send them back. And then I'll start this whole thing where I found it and it's worth millions of dollars. Ka-ching, ka-cho. That's the theory. They believe that because of them, when they look at them now, they say these are exactly like the meteorite that fell in Chile. So it has to be a phony, right? So as of now, people stop looking for this thing, really. But I am going to throw out another theory. It's real. That's the official story. He was poor. He had these things that he bought at a flea market in Panama City that were from a Chilean meteorite. He knew the value of them. He sent them off to the Boston people, and they told him this. And he goes, oh, I know. I found this in Oregon. Give me a bunch of money. We'll assemble a team. As long as I don't die of pneumonia, I'll be rich afterwards. Here's the problem with that. One, he sent the little pieces to the Boston people with a bunch of other rocks. So it didn't seem like he was like, oh, here, I think these are valuable. He sent it to him years afterwards, and he didn't leave a note saying, hey, I think these are super valuable, check these. It was just like, here's a bunch of stuff. I was wondering if you could run some tests on it. Two, that's a pretty long scam, right? Like, wouldn't it have been easier for him to just sell the directions to be like, oh, yeah, I could go on the journey with you and get a $300 million rock. Or I could sell you that you give me $10,000 and I'll give you a map there, and then he could just disappear into Panama City. He could leave the country, right? That'd be a short-term con. There's a long-term con where then you have to get like people to contractors and heliotropes to help fly around to pick up the rock, all sorts of stuff. So it's a pretty long con. One, he has to make sure that the people he's sending it to will recognize it as a valuable thing. He's sending it out of the state. He has to assume it never gets lost in the mail. If this is the key to his con, why is he sending it out to his homies in Boston and not to his dudes in Oregon? But here's the biggest thing. People go, it's obviously a piece of the Chilean meteorite because it is chemically or minerally the same thing. But has people never heard of meteorite? Like what are those things called when there's a bunch of meteors? Meteor shower, right? So if you had a planet, Krypton blows up 10 million years ago, and there's a bunch of chunks flying through space, right? And you're like, Jason, that's not what it meant. Every meteor shower is not Krypton blowing up. But if you had a giant thing blow up and crumble, doesn't just fall on one part of Earth. Like, I've seen Armageddon, like, it trails out and destroys a bunch of stuff. So, what's to say that there is not a meteorite that is from the same source that the Chilean meteorite was, that also crashed in the 1820s in the middle of Oregon, nobody saw it, and then it's sitting there. That's why it would be exactly like the other one. So I believe that the Port Orford meteorite, which is what it's called, it's pronounced correctly by other people, but the Port Orford meteorite is real. I believe it's real. But I don't know. It could be wrong. He could have frauded the whole thing. I just thought about this. Some people are just really bad at committing crimes. Some people are just, like, suck at it, right? So maybe he didn't know that there's a short con and there's a long con. Maybe this is the only con he could think of. But let's go ahead and move on to our next story here. Now, our next story is from my 1988 file. Collection of short UFO and weird encounters from the year 1988. I got from the website thinkaboutitdocs.com. Longtime listeners may recognize something out of this, but even if you're new to the show, I think you'll find something interesting about the story. I'm reading this from the website. This story takes place in Beirut, Lebanon. It's May 18th, 1988. And there's this dude named Hemrod Levins, right? So he's driving down the road. Now, he's in Lebanon. It's 1988. So not a peaceful time for that country. He's driving through town. Driving. And all of a sudden, bombs start falling. He starts... I think he did more than a comically distraught sound. He was definitely panicked, and bombs are falling all over the city. And he's like, this is it. And he says, suddenly, everything went quiet. And Hemrod is now floating up. And he's like, I'm dead. Like a bomb fell on me, and I'm dead. And then next thing he knows, he's in this metallic container. And while he's in this container, he looks over, and there's a wheel spinning super fast. Also in this container with him. Definitely alien. Like, to me, and I've talked about this before, the idea of dying, abstractness of death. Now, I don't believe you're just annihilated. I don't believe you're necessarily walking around in cities of gold. I don't know what it is. I could become an infinite geometrical pattern that's aware of everything in the universe. I could become reincarnated as a frog, but in an alternate universes where frogs are like butterflies. I can't comprehend the next stage. So stories like this are inherently creepy to me, because what if when you die, we're just some big old metal eggs and they're just wheels? And that'd be cool for the first 10 minutes, but then afterwards you're like, this is it? That's what creeps me out about death. Is there gravity in the afterlife? Is there a moon? Is there any... it trips me out. Anyways, we're not going to get into my own hang-ups about the afterlife, because this story here, he's sitting in this mechanical device, like a sphere almost, and the spinning wheel begins to talk to him. Now, we don't have a lot of details of this, because I'm getting this as a condensed version from this website. And I couldn't find any that's the thing about this 1988 website. Sometimes I can find follow-up details, and sometimes it just seems to be encounters think about it, docs.com. They're not personal encounters people have written in. They're stuff they've culled from magazine articles and books. So, anyways, he's watching this wheel spin, and he says, the wheel begins to speak to me in my language, which would be Arabic, I believe. I don't think there's a language called Lebanese. There might be. And anyways, this wheel's spinning around and begins talking to him, and he says that these are the subjects they talked about were, quote, eternal life, black holes, which is kind of a cool combination, I guess. I'd be like, no, go back to the eternal life. It's like, a black hole is where light can't escape. Yeah, I know what a black hole is. Tell me more about eternal life. The event horizon. Okay, now I guess now we're really on the black holes. The wheel also told him that it needed ozone to survive. It needs ozone to survive, whatever that means. I actually have a theory on that. We'll get into that in a second. But what happens is, eventually, the wheel stops talking. The wheel keeps spinning, but is no longer making any noise. He's now just sitting in this mechanical compartment. This wheel's just spinning next to him. And then he's standing on his balcony, looking out over the city where the bombs had previously fallen. He's at home, safe. We covered something similar to this back on episode 242. I had an episode called The Multiverse Abides, correcting glitches in reality. And that's where a guy is driving down the road. He gets in a violent car accident, and then time stops, and he sees a giant water wheel appearing over the horizon. Eventually, it's bigger than the biggest city he's ever seen. And he falls into it, and it begins flipping him around from reality to reality. It's a really good episode. I really, really like that episode. It's quite terrifying. Flips him around till eventually it puts him in a reality 30 seconds before the car crash. So he feels like he died, but then just got shifted to another reality where he hadn't died yet, and then I don't even think he went to work after that. I think he just went home. But I thought this story was interesting for two reasons. The wheel, again, being present in this idea of coming back to life. So both of these people died. Hemrod had a bomb dropped on him, the other guy died in a car accident. Both of them were presented with the wheel. In episode 242, the wheel was presented as this uncaring universe that just wanted to put you back into a universe where you lived in. This one, he actually had a conversation with the thing, which I find fascinating. Again, like you're talking to the universe. The idea where it says we need ozone to survive, to my younger listeners, you may remember this. You know all the stuff you hear about climate change today. We got 10 years to fix climate change, or eventually polar bears are going to have to move into Arizona and start selling jewelry. That was the way people used to talk about the ozone layer. The ozone layer, we got 5 years to fix the ozone layer. It's going to burn us all. Go back and watch some action movies from the mid-'80s to the early 90s. So many of them, sci-fi movies, not Lethal Weapon. So many of them involve the ozone layer being destroyed. Even up to a Book of Eli, they talk about the ozone layer being destroyed, a hole pierced in the sky. And that was kind of a throwback to those old post-apocalyptic movies. But so many movies. I just watched a movie last night called Airtight. It was a Canadian made-for-TV movie about the world was living in dome cities, and the corporations controlled the airflow. And it was up to the Air Force, these group of young, up-and-coming cops turned renegades, to overthrow the evil capitalists and make it so everyone gets air. And that's basically the plot of Tank Girl. That's the plot of so many of these movies.